everybody. It's Safi and Marco. Dish out on the movies. And guess what? Today we're doing a 2021 movie. It just debuted today on Netflix. And it's called The Dig. And there's a few stars in it. A few really well known and some not as well known, but in recent movies we have seen. And Ralph Fiennes, I guess that's how you say his name, you know, Lord Baltimore, and the guy who
Lord
was
Voldemort,
in Schindler's List.
Voldemort.
Ralph Fiennes,
Fiennes
is one of the main stars. And it's about
Karen Mulligan, from A Promising Young Woman. She has this huge property, and it's in the 1930s, and she hires Lord Voldemort to come and dig up dirt to see if there's a treasure there or something. And basically it's all about this certain find that is apparently like slightly famous, I guess. It's all about this certain ship that they find, and a burial and treasures, and so it's all about that. That's the basic story, and it gets more complicated, as you can imagine. Drama happens, historical stuff happens, the typical stuff in this type of movie. But the reason why Safi is here is because she is an archaeologist.
No, I'm not an archaeologist, but
Safi.
My husband
Pretend
is a
you
cultural anthropologist and did archaeology.
Damn.
One summer, I did, where he was working, I worked on a dig for half of the summer, and then the other half of the summer, I worked for the lead archaeologist in the office. It was a work-study program through Northwestern, and the site was called the Coster site. And this was in southwest Illinois, and between the Illinois and the Mississippi rivers. And we were, I think, 20 feet below the top level of this farm called the Coster Farm, and we were excavating prehistoric Indians, and several layers and other field schools had been there years before, and we were, one of the last ones near the end. And everybody, when they think of archaeology, they think of something really glamorous. In this movie, well, this was really a private type of dig. And we were a university, Northwestern University, field school dig, in cooperation with the owner, of course. And archaeology isn't glamorous. It isn't Indiana Jones. It's a lot of painstaking measuring, weighing, carefully troweling away dirt. And so I don't know if this movie would appeal to people. That what they were excavating, like he said, it was a ship, and it was what did you say it was? The period? Anglo-Saxon period, which I don't know what that is. And if they said it, they must have said it once, and they whispered it, because I didn't hear it. But I'd have to look it up. And what they did was, the people who had the ship, it was a burial ship, and they dragged it up on logs into this field, and they dug a hole. All these, whatever they were, workers, soldiers, guards, whatever, and they buried it underneath the ground. But it was also a burial ship. So this famous whomever, I don't know, because I don't think they ever said that, was buried with his ship. And so it was about, you could see the mounds. We have the same thing in America. There's mounds, and they're Indian burial mounds. That's what they are. But here was, there were mounds on this woman's property, and they always wanted to excavate them. And of course, with mounds come people who just want to dig a little and reach in and grab treasures and move on. And those are called pot hunters, and they call them something else there. But I guess they had been looted. Some of them may have been looted. They said that. It didn't sound like they were sure, but they were thinking it could have happened. So they weren't sure, and she had a feeling about one of them. And so that's what it was. It was hiring this guy, Ralph Fiennes, and he was just an amateur archaeologist. And then when the word gets out of what they find, this ship, of course, the British Museum, who can be real jerks, because I know them, they came in, they tried to take it over, and she kind of let them, but she wanted her person, Ralph, to be on the scene. And it was just about this, and it's right before World War II. So they're getting ready for war. You see constant planes flying over. Her brother, I think, was young, so he was probably going to be drafted. He wanted to be drafted. He wanted to fly an airplane. And of course, all the men in the community were going to be gone, so they're kind of rushing. But it's not, I don't know if this movie would appeal to everybody. I'm just interested in it because I read about stuff being found all the time. And so anyway.
You know what the dig is like. Is it like in this movie? Is it accurate? Is this movie accurate, Safi?
Yes. He told her that he had been, I don't know, he called himself an excavator. Well, and here in the United States, he would be called an amateur archaeologist. And people find things all the time, and, he was actually, she had him in charge of everything, and he made mistakes, which I don't think he would have done. I don't know if they did this for dramatic effect or it really happened and he just didn't know. But when you do a dig that's going to be really deep, you have to have supports or the thing can crash in on you. And also, when it rains, water gets into the dig and you're supposed to cover the site, or else everything gets flooded. And of course it gets muddy, but the flooding, it also causes the walls to collapse. So things happen until the British Museum comes in. They do the right things they do set up supports. They do bring covers, which she is rich, apparently, and she could do whatever she wanted. Oh, I guess we didn't say her husband had died, and she was in poor health.
That stuff doesn't matter.
Well,
but
that's just the drama movie that's around it.
Well, it doesn't really have anything to do with the movie, if you think about it, because the movie is like, that's the downside of the movie, is the fact that the first half is pretty good because it's basically all about him digging up dirt and his issues, his challenges.
Yeah.
And then the second half is where the movie gets not as good because the museum comes in, and so you have all these other new characters, like you have all these like historical movie cliches that you see over and over again. You have the little boy who admires the old wise man, and you have the girl who has a romance, and it's like, really? It's like, no one cares about this crap. We watched this movie to see people dig up dirt. We didn't watch this movie to see this woman go like, oh, I like you. I like you.
Well, one of the archaeologists who comes in, I guess you would say, she falls in love with the head woman, the woman who owns the property, her brother, and he is the guy who is the main love interest of Emma in is it 2020 movie, Emma.
The worst movie of 2020 in my opinion.
Well, anyway, except he has his hair cut.
Yeah.
And then he gets it cut again because he gets drafted, of course.
So there's a stupid little plot with that no one cares about. But
it's just a little romance.
So really the movie is, and the movie itself is kind of pointless. There's not really any reason this movie should have been made.
They could have added a few things. We talked about this. Go ahead and tell what you think could have been added.
Well, I just thought, going into it, I thought it would be a lot more technical, and I thought it would be more in depth to make it seem more challenging than, just showing pretty images with pretty music playing and.
Well, they actually made it look really easy, and it isn't, and it takes a long time.
They just made it look like you could do it on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, pretty much. Even less than a week, and that is just not the way it is.
You got like Ralph Fiennes, and he like wipes his forehead, and then he digs up the entire treasure. I mean, that's basically what it is, and. But I thought the biggest thing I thought was the ending was very, very rushed. And I thought they should have cut out all the stupid subplots in the second half and added like 10 more minutes where it's about what Ralph Fiennes does after this dig.
Yeah, they make it seem like it's over for him and he's going to retire and do nothing. And like, which we thought, well... Maybe, I don't know, but that's not true.
They just kind of made it seem like it's not really important or something like it. It just didn't. And I thought, that was a big disservice to the character. I mean, because this movie acts like he's some sort of like heroic figure, like he's this archaeology hero. He's this amateur who faced the challenge, and he was the little guy against the big museum people. But then at the end of the movie, it's just like, who cares? The movie's over.
Well, what
go
happens
fuck yourself.
Is the war starts and everybody gets drafted, so they've got to cover the site because all they've seen, and we've seen this the whole movie, planes flying right overhead, so they think that could be a big area for lots of battles. So they end up, they've uncovered the whole ship. Well, basically the outer lines. They didn't, I don't think they uncovered everything. They did take a lot of artifacts from the burial and they hid them in a subway in London. So they wouldn't, if the Germans invaded and took over, they couldn't steal them. And they didn't want the site to be messed up either. So they covered it. They put branches on it and then they covered it up with dirt. They completely covered it up. And I thought that was good, but they could have, they never really showed the artifacts. They showed them from very far away, and I mean, everybody saw the ship, and it was really cool, but nobody got to really see the artifacts, and I think that they could have done that, even if they'd made replicas.
Voldemort just, like, he picks up a little gold thing, and he's like, hey, look! And then the camera just cuts away.
I know, you don't get to see it. I think that's terrible. I mean, where we weren't uncovering gold and silver and really exotic things like that. I mean, to me, that's exotic. We were finding a dog burial and ochre, which is a red rock that you put on your face, and you put on pottery and...
Red face?
Yeah, ochre. It's O-C-H-R-E or something.
That's racist, Safi.
No,
wink,
Marco.
wink.
I mean like markings. And you put it on maybe pottery or whatever. And, you might find some artifacts like arrows or something. But anyway, you don't get to see that. I thought that was a disservice to the site. I think people would be interested, even if they're replicas. Just a few. They didn't show any. They showed them from very far away, and people were just looking like, what's that? What's that? I mean, they had several, they were like pieces of cloth with stuff laid out, and they had like 10 cloths or something with all kinds of different artifacts neatly laid out. They were going to take them to the British Museum. Well, guess what? She wouldn't let them do it. She said, no, we're going to have an inquest. This is a burial on my property, and that's the law in the area. So the British Museum didn't get to abscond the artifacts, take them away to their museum to let them go into the closet somewhere and gather dust.
So the movie started off, and in my opinion, it started off like, it's gonna be this big scope story where, like, it's just gonna get more challenging and challenging and challenging. It's starting off and it's like this calm start, and it's just gonna be this epic, like, just not epic in terms of like Indiana Jones, but epic in terms of like all the technical details. But then the movie just kind of fizzles out in the second half.
It meanders off.
And it focuses so much on the stupid subplots that no one cares about. And I will say, Karen Mulligan did a better job in this movie than in the feminazi rape movie. Because she was actually a British person, which she's British in real life, so that's just the part she should stick to playing. And, because, like, her voice, like, it's funny because I made fun of her voice when we did that commentary. And it's so funny because I should have realized, I should have looked that up and seen that she was British. And this movie, like, it's so much more, like, natural. Like, she sounds a lot better because she's speaking her actual voice. And so I thought she did a better job, and she's playing that same type of character where she's like an old spinster, and, her character's really not that interesting. I mean, she's a person. I don't care. She's not important to me. Ralph Fiennes, he did a good job, and his character could have been important, like, if they showed more of, like, the challenge that he had to face, and then the kid, don't care, not important. So this movie is just kind of pointless. I mean, do you agree with all that, Safi? I mean, didn't it just seem like kind of like a waste of time?
Well, I'm just not sure why they made it.
Yeah.
Because things like this happen all the time. I know that war isn't beginning, and maybe that added the real drama, not the little made-up ones. But the war was coming, and they did have to be quick about it, because that's all they were talking about, was this war coming any day. And they, all you have is the radio. You're listening to the radio, getting this news and about Germany, and but I don't know why. If you haven't done archaeology, even if it's like for a summer, which is what I did, you may not be interested in that. You just may read the news and say, oh, they found the remains of a woolly mammoth, or they found a Native American village.
People who click on this movie are going to be interested in the details, like me. So, the fact that they didn't give you what you wanted when you clicked on the movie just shows how kind of crappy of a movie it is.
Well, and they don't tell enough. I mean, they don't have to go into a big diatribe.
Yeah, they do.
But they need to, they don't even give all the basic information. And also, Marco brought up the fact that Ralph Fiennes, the person he plays, well, we think, oh, well, I guess he's going to retire. Well, he doesn't. He works on tons of different projects, and for the British Museum.
Yeah.
Like for a decade at least after this happened.
No, he worked I think 20 years.
Well, so he didn't just go home and
die.
He did plenty of work, and for him to be able to do that, they had to have respected him enough to do it. Now, I guess there was a thing about, and they'll talk about this at the end, about his name being on there in conjunction with finding the site, helping to find it, and knowing how valuable it was. And then they finally did. So you just have no idea how political. I mean, talk about politics and what we talk about today, but there's so much politics in academia, it's not even funny. So.
Well, what would you rate this movie, Safi, if you could call it a movie?
Okay, in terms of food?
Yeah.
Oh, well, probably cheese and pepperoni and pizza without the sauce, because they forgot it.
That's a really generous grade.
Yeah.
I would give this movie. I haven't had a peanut butter sandwich in a long time, but it's basically like if you got 2 pieces of white bread, you get some crunchy peanut butter, and you smear it on the bread, and you make a little crunchy peanut butter sandwich. You cut it in half. You cut all the crust off so you don't get that nice crust on the outside. You just get this crappy white processed inside. And so that's what it is. It's like this little, fluffy thing. Just this little light peanut butter sandwich that just, you eat it and it's like, oh wow, I ate lunch. Wink, wink. I'm going to go starve right now. I ate that crappy little peanut butter sandwich that just went right through me. Like in that Andy Griffith episode where that farmer, he comes over to Velma Lou's house and she's serving little finger sandwiches and he's like, "What is this?" And she's like, "Dinner." And that's what it's like.
She was just doing that to discourage him.
Yeah, but the people don't care about that. And so that's what I would say this movie is. So Safi says it's a pizza without the sauce, and a simple pizza, not like a complex pizza, which should say something. And then I said it's a peanut butter sandwich. And now for spoilers, is there anything you wanted to say, Safi? I think that the best scene was probably the scene where he messes up and he's trying to pick up something and then it breaks into pieces. That's what I wanted to see more of. I wanted to see more challenging stuff like that.
Yeah, but the thing is, so what happens is, this is like right at the beginning. So they uncover something. They don't know if it's a ship yet. He thinks it might be, though. And there's a big piece of something in the soil. So it's like rectangular, but it could be a lot bigger, like a tile or something. If you read about Pompeii, they have all kinds of tiled walls with beautiful pictures of what happened during the time that Pompeii was built, and something like that. But you don't see there; it's plain. There's nothing on it. So he goes over and he has to call somebody over to help him, and they both try to pry it out, and it breaks in half. And it was totally the wrong thing to do.
That was funny.
To extract it from the soil. You had to carefully remove it by getting a trowel and going all around. It could have taken an hour or 2 hours just to extract it. You've seen this. Even on Jurassic Park, like the beginning. I mean, it's something that's carefully done. It takes a while. It just isn't instant. And they were just like, oh, hey, let's just lift this out of the soil, and snap.
Just breaks.
And he was beside himself, and they looked at him like he was a fool.
He storms off.
Stupid.
And
Well,
smokes his stupid little pipe.
It just, I guess, Marco, I was devastated because I thought, oh my God, if something like that happened,
Well, I wanted
you
to
could
see,
lose your whole
of that.
reputation from that.
I wanted to see more of that type of thing where it's like, they're actually having to face challenges. It's not just
Well, it's challenging.
Digging up dirt and it's like, oh look, we dug up some dirt today.
Well,
Oh no, it's raining.
they had. Let me tell you about the challenges they had. They had a cave in, and he was actually covered up, and he could have died. She quickly got people over there, and they uncovered him, and they rescued him. He could have suffocated to death.
But they really didn't emphasize why that happened because he
No,
didn't
they
have
didn't.
strong supports.
He didn't have any supports.
And so I would have liked that to have been set up better by showing the supports, showing the building of the supports. Like, I mean, just this movie is just such a spectacle, fluff movie. It's really not a movie with any substance.
I
in
don't
my
know
opinion.
I guess it's the whole ship laid out.
This
That was what I liked, but I
Yeah.
was still disappointed about them not showing the artifacts, because people are like, okay, you found a ship, that's really cool. Oh, there's a burial on it, and then I mean there were a ton of artifacts, and just what are they? What are the artifacts? I don't even know what they were.
a gold thing.
Yeah, things.
that little thing there.
You know, like you'll see on the news, they might find glassware or dishware, like a mug or
No.
remains of
They
sandals.
find a little thing with some colors on it.
And there's metal. There's all this metal, and to me, I thought it was something as part of armor that you would wear. But I don't know what back then, during this time, I don't know what the metal would be. See, that's what you can't just think in terms of today. You got to think about in terms of before and what was there at that time. What was even invented or made, and how was it made, and where was the stuff available? So the metal substances. How did they, like doing iron or copper or brass or whatever. I don't know. I don't know anything about that stuff. Or pottery. Anything.
Well,
nothing. You couldn't see it. I mean, you're looking, you're like straining your eyes because they showed it from way far away. It could have been, they could have put cans of green beans and cut out little squares from the cans and made a little design. You never would have known because they didn't show it. So
I guess that's it.
That's it. So subscribe.
Like the video.
Like it or
comment.
We'll
Share.
welcome your comments. If you worked on a dig yourself, you might share that. Where did you dig? For how long did you dig? Did you like it? Can you tell people like me that, like myself, my experiences, that it wasn't glamorous, that it was hard work? You get up at 5:30 in the morning and you go out, and it gets to be like 120 degrees if you're in a big pit and it's the middle of Illinois in the summer, and you have to wear long sleeves and a hat, or else you get a horrible sunburn like my sister-in-law did when she came and did it for one day, and then she had to go home because it just wasn't for her. She got a horrible sunburn, miserable, but she did not like it. It's hard work, and I lost all this weight. I was so thin, so it's a good way to lose weight.
Is it a good start to 2021 movies,
Oh,
Safi?
sure, why not?
I think so, because Safi watched Mank to prepare for her 2020 ranking list video, and we really realized how crappy that movie was, and so the fact that this movie is better than that movie, and I had that movie at number 5, I think, on my list, and so the fact that it's better than the 5th best movie of last year shows that we're off to a pretty good start, because this movie could have been really bad. It was kind of bad, but it wasn't. It was still better than most of the movies from last year. So that's a good sign. So, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.